UA community, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Robert Linkul, trainingtheolderadult.com, and we are talking questions, Q&A from some of our videos here. Got a new one for you. This is on lifting heavier loads is safe for older adults. For reals, let me show you progressive overload. So our first one that pops up here, this is a new one, just came up. It says it's from Springs 1694. Great job explaining these concepts. Robert. I'm 64 years old and have been going to local gyms since age 18, mostly without coaches and pushing myself to 70% effort. I started going to a new gym several months ago and the coaches there pushed me well beyond 70% max effort. I watched a recent Peter Attia video. Do the benefits of deadlifts and squats outweigh the risk of injury? Where Stuart McGill cautions against lifting too heavy. Now I'm concerned I'm pushing too hard. I want to avoid hip replacement surgery. Thank you for any advice. I just watched your other video on how heavy to lift and your recommendation of 2 to 4 reps in reserve. My coaches are taking me beyond this weight number and reps. Okay, so the recent video of Stuart McGill and Peter Attia, it's like 3 hours long and I'm a little bit more than halfway through it. I've been listening to it when I go out and ruck. So to this point, I don't know exactly what they said, but I know Stuart is on that side of not wanting to lift exceptionally heavy, that especially with barbell work, barbells are really difficult. If you're pulling a traditional bar loaded with regular 45-pound plates off the floor and you're 6'4" like I am versus someone who's 5'4", I am doing a lot more work. I have to move that bar a lot further. Even though I may have some mechanical advantages, technically I'm doing more work. But is it good for me to pull from that position? If I don't have super flexible hips, capable back, good strong shoulders, good pull positions, as per anyone, their height, their mechanics, all of this go into play. But typically, longer individuals have a harder time pulling off the floor, where people that are a little bit more compact usually have a better capability of pulling things off the floor. Longer, taller people have better leverage mechanics to reach things off the top of the refrigerator, to throw things, to torque production type stuff rather than pure power or pure strength efforts, typically. Okay, not everybody, but typically. So to answer the question, that 70% effort seems to be okay. I think that's good. 7 to 8 is kind of that regular area of a rate of perceived exertion. 1 out of 10. 7 or 8 is probably pretty good. I'd err closer to 7, right? Your reps in reserve, 2 to 4, maybe 4 to 6, somewhere in there. Remember, you want every workout to kind of change. So maybe for the first week, your deadlifting gives you 8 reps in reserve, and then the next week it's 6 reps in reserve, and then the next week it's 4 reps in reserve, and then maybe you go back to 8 or 10, and you just have some undulations in your programming. Because if you're always pushing to just 2 reps in reserve, you're basically working with like 90% or a 95% maximal effort. That's a lot. That's hard for your body to do that on the regular basis over and over again. Will you adapt? For sure. Will you get strong? Yeah. But is the risk of injury higher? Yeah. You're moving some heavier loads. With that heavier load comes a greater risk, but also comes great rewards to get really strong and get your bones really dense. So that's where we try to thread the needle here a little bit and go, let me find that 70%, 4 to 6 reps in reserve, like somewhere in there. Let me find that weight and then work with that weight or near it on the regular. 6s, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, and then we start over again. And that could be 4 or 5 weeks of undulations kind of going up and down. And in doing that, you can manipulate your tempo. Up quick, down really slow, steady state up, steady state down, up slow and return rather quickly. So you're focused on these slow concentrics. I mean, just manipulating the tempo can make every workout really challenging. And you're just always using maybe the same, 7 out of 10 RPE weight scale or your 6 reps in reserve, right? That same weight. But each workout, you change the tempo in which you lift it. You can do that for a month and still find progressive overload in that for sure. Also, I just like changing the implement. So hex bars, people are like, well, it's a cheat thing and it's higher and it's a neutral grip. Fine, I'm cheating. Okay, I didn't know that this was a competition where we're exercising for fitness. If I'm in a competition, that's different. We all need to pull from the same height. Those are the rules, those are the regulations. But if I'm just going to do deadlifts and I want to pull weight off the floor, I don't care. I don't care what the implement is. I could do a T-bell between my knees, a kettlebell between my knees, 2 kettlebells between my knees, 2 kettlebells outside my knees, a hex bar with a neutral grip that's higher 4 inches because it's more comfortable for my back. A barbell that's on blocks, a barbell that has angle 90 handles attached to it so you can rotate your hands to where you want to hold them. That's kind of the best of all the worlds, in my opinion, is you've got a barbell and almost everybody has access to that. You loop, swoop, and pull your angle 90 handles onto that, and now you can turn your hands to a neutral grip, which I feel like is a better position to pull from for your shoulders and your elbows, especially if you're broader, right? But I can also get an extra, 4 to 6 inches in height to pull off the floor, so I'm not having to go from as low. It's like attaching a hex bar option onto your barbell, or as best or as close to that as you can. So that's a pretty safe and a pretty affordable option rather than buying a $300 or $400 hex bar. Is you get a pair of $50 handles and attach them on there, and it works pretty well. So yeah, I'd probably be a little bit careful. I mean, if you've been lifting for that long, you're 64 and you've been lifting since you're 18, so like 40 plus years of lifting, that's 50 plus years of lifting, like almost 50 years. That's a lot of experience. You should be okay to deadlift. I just be careful you're not overexerting or over pushing yourself to numbers where you're like, I hope I can do this. Don't hope lift, no lift. Like KNOW, I know I can lift this. That's those ranges where you're confident, but you're pushing yourself. That's a 7 out of 10. That's a 4 to a 6 RPE, somewhere in there, okay? RPE, reps in reserve, RIR, I mean. So I hope that helps. I hope everybody, if you have any questions, feel free to fire away down below. If not, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. Thank you for the question. Love and appreciate you all, and we'll see you next time. Take care.